IVM.
One of the things that the internet has really given us is that we get to voice a point of view, and in essence kind of create content around a point of view. Right? So everything you kind of tweet, you post on Instagram, put up on Facebook, do anything. It is you voicing in a small way or in a large way a point of view. But can you really scale or can you rather expand just a point of view into larger pieces of content? And is a question which a lot of people have had, right? So on the tech side, it's been about reviews, etc. But in movies, there's always been this one category of people who, for lack of a new age term, are still called critics, whose job pretty much has, over the years, over decades, has been to really look at any piece of content, a movie, a series, etc., give a very interestingly individual opinion on how good or bad, or what was good or bad, or why should someone watch it, or what did they really enjoy about it, right? This is a category that has, in my mind, and there will be many people who disagree with me, has seen its ups and downs in terms of how do you really look at something which is a review and say, okay, 1 second, this is way too diplomatic, so I don't really enjoy it as much. You want a point of view, right? You want to disagree with it or agree with it. You want that. And it went through a period where people were all being diplomatic, right? It became more about the numbers, not as much about why you need to watch something. But in recent times, especially over the last decade, there's a crop of critics who've kind of come up who are creating content that really puts a certain point of view across. You might not agree with a lot of it. You might agree with most of it, but you listen to them because you feel that what they're putting out is engaging, not just from a critical point of view, but from a content point of view, right? One such critic who I've been following since she started her reviews has been Sucharita Tyagi. Now, when she started off not a film review, I remember looking at it and saying, 1 second, this is interesting because she's calling it not a review. And I've always found that her point of view is so interestingly individual that it always makes me look forward to the next one. So I thought it'd be interesting to get her on the show and kind of look into the mindset of a critic, and how she creates content around it, kind of dig into how this kind of started off for her, and many, many more things. I'm Varun, co-founder and corner chief at The Glitch. I'll be right back with Advertising is Dead.
Hey everybody, welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank our sponsors on the network this week. Thank you HDFC Life for coming on board. We're really excited to work with you. Also would like to thank Storytel for continuing the long time advertising that they've been doing with us. And if you have a brand and you'd like to advertise with us, please send us an email. We'd love to talk to you. Also, folks, please fill out our listener survey. This is the last week it's going to be up. I'm going to take it down at the end of January. Please do try and get your opinion in before then. It is kind of important and it helps us kind of figure out what we should be doing going forward. On Cyrus Says, Cyrus is joined by actor Manvi Gagru, who talks about her upcoming film Shubh Mangal Zyada Saudhan, working on TVF's popular web series Pictures, and how talent show brought her from Delhi to Mumbai. On this week's episode of Golgappa, Trupti is joined by Prajakta Kohli, also known as Mostly Sane. On Simplified Shorties, Chuck, Naren and Shriketh welcome their new co-host, Tony Sebastian. Wow, 4 hosts for that show. On 9XM Soundcast, Eva is in conversation with Punjabi hip-hop singer Manj Music. Udipan Sarma joins Zarina on the Empowering series. He's the lead singer of the band As We Keep Searching. On Storytellers and Storysellers, Vineet is joined by actor and stand-up comedian Sumukhi Suresh and executive creative director at Supari Studios, Nisha Vasudevan. On Football Shutball, join Sivram, Gaurav and Karthik as they talk about the state of the EPL and a whole lot more. On What A Player, Siddhartha and Mikhail talk about the India-Australia series and discuss who's better between Virat Kohli and Steve Smith. On States of Anarchy, Hamsini is joined by Vineet Hegde to discuss the crisis and dispute mechanisms at the World Trade Organization. And with that, let's get you back to your show.
Welcome back to Advertising is Dead. We're with Sucharita. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome. We've managed to do this finally. We've had a couple of back and forths.
Yeah, I know. We've been trying to figure this out, but...
So I must tell you, there are few reviews I look forward to seeing after every movie comes out. One of them is yours, primarily because I feel that you have a very unique voice in the way your content comes out.
Thank you. That's very kind.
And the fact that you say it's not a movie review,
yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
Was movies always a point of I really want to do something around this? Or
yeah,
was
man.
it just a almost guilty pleasure or rather whatever?
No. I've loved cinema for as long as I can remember. I've always been like, I remember one of the first things that I remember my parents ever telling me about my interest in cinema is when I must have been like 3 or 4 years old. Or DD पे film आ रही थी, Chameli Ki Shaadi, which is a phenomenal film, right? It's such a good film. I've seen it like
10-15 times.
It's such a good film. And I was so transfixed because every time the movie would cut to advertising, I would be like, and then it would come back on and I'd be like,
yeah.
So I've always loved cinema because I've always loved storytelling in various formats that you can tell stories in. So becoming a film critic was not something that just randomly happened. I actually wanted to be a filmmaker at one point in my life, for which I did my postgrad in film studies at Xavier's in Mumbai. But like it just so happened that I just kind of came in this field instead.
And you started off in radio.
I did.
You started off. You did 2 stints in Delhi. I done my LinkedIn research. So
well done,
you did
Varun.
two stints in Delhi with, and then a longer stint in Bombay.
Yes.
But was radio the first choice? And you wanted to be a filmmaker. Then how did that kind of?
Radio was also always something that really excited me, and it was very interesting because I remember into early 2000s when commercial radio first started, it was like this. What is this?
Yeah.
People are actually speaking their minds and people are having fun. You can have fun on air. And that is something that really excited me. So, and growing up also, I would listen to like Saturday nights. I would stay at home because I wasn't allowed to go out very much with my friends. So I would stay at home and listen to the international programs that AIR would broadcast on Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah.
Radio was always very exciting to me also. So that was something that I was very fortunate to have been a part of.
Yeah. And the thing with radio, and that's why I've kind of always felt that television has never had as much of an opinion out there or like an individual voice out there as radio always has had. I think radio still has kept that alive and kind of taken that ahead. And kind of like in a certain way, like have a point of view.
Because with radio, it is more person driven than television is, I think, in my opinion, because radio is about the person who's hosting the show. That person dictates the personality of the show, who's hosting it. Like you dictate the personality of advertising is that. As opposed to television, which is about a network and producers and a team of writers that come together, because there's very few shows.
You'll have those hosts. Like I come from music television, so
sure.
You'll have like, you would have a brocha. And so I was lucky enough that I started. I was there at a time when there was still a brocha, there was still a Nikhil, there was still Sahu, the entire bunch was still there. And they all brought their individual things there, but there was still a certain amount of like you said, like they're not the ones in charge of it as much as radio.
Also, see, with the radio, we had to create 3 hours of content every day. So there can't be an in charge overlooking everything every day because the infrastructure just doesn't exist like that.
And you are in a sense the producer as well if you look at it that
for
way.
many of the shows.
Content in charge and such.
Like if you have like a bigger, more important show like the Breakfast Drive Time show, then you have a producer and you have a team. But like for the rest of the shows, usually you're just kind of producing your own content. And if you're creating 3 hours worth of content or 4 hours even worth of content every day, then it becomes kind of impossible for somebody to kind of be monitoring everything that you're saying. Also, it's a live medium. It's a live medium for the most part, right? So it's you get hired basis on your ability to be able to think live and perform live. I think that kind of makes a difference.
Why I'm asking about that, is that aspect, do you feel that's how it kind of helped you transition to doing the content that you start creating on YouTube, right? Because you already had work in a space where a unique voice was the prerequisite, and then you kind of transition that into what your movie reviews are. Would you say that that's how you kind of flowed into this, or
most certainly
was it by design?
When I started Not a Movie Review, I was still very much a radio jockey on Radio City in Mumbai, and that was something that I did simultaneous for about 2 years, and then I left radio and I started focusing on other things in my life. But the fact that like simple things like I start my review by introducing myself every single time, I say my name every single time, that is a very radio thing to do, because on the radio they can't see you, so you kind of see your name every single time, or you have a bumper that plays that says your name before your segment begins, so the listeners find out who they're listening listening to at that point in time. So that's something that I picked up from radio. And lots of other things. A lot of my discipline of editing the words that I say comes from having been a live performer for many, many years.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of and there isn't that. It is very
My
edited.
biggest problem, I do that. I've been called out online for saying the word I think, the words I think a lot.
Sort of.
Having too much a lot. And someone actually wrote to me and said, you don't have to respond every time your guest says something. I'm like, fine, sorry, man. Like, don't get angry.
Yeah, so a lot of that editing while you're talking kind of training comes from radio. And also like radio, we learned that when you're talking on the radio, you're talking to one person. You're talking to because radio is not a collective Netflix-like medium where people are sitting together and watching. It's one person driving or sitting and listening or cooking or listening to. And that's what I brought to my YouTube videos as well. I kind of always talk like I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And not to a collective group of people, which makes it more relatable, and I think which makes it more like likely for people to engage with.
How did the YouTube thing happen?
Because Anupama Chopra, who is so kind and so lovely, she started this platform, Film Companion, and Film Companion, she runs that, but she also is involved in a big way with the Geomami Film Festival, and that was the first year that 2015 when she had taken on the reins of the Geomami Film Festival, which meant that she really needed to focus on the festival, and they needed someone to continue to talk about new releases on the YouTube channel as well. And then somebody on her team at the time knew me, and I was already doing this for the radio. I was watching new films and getting invited to previews and watching them and talking about it on my show. They thought that it was something that I could do on camera, and they invited me to give it a shot. And I went and we did a pilot, and everybody liked it, and we tweaked it a little bit, and it just was like, let's do it, because Film Companion was also just starting out, and I was also like, yeah, why not?
What's your general process when you do a review? Because I've always found that interesting, primarily because everybody believes they're a critic. Especially in our country, though, we're all critics. No, so that is the easiest thing for us. Like, we critique everything, not just movies, and that's a whole different conversation altogether, which I think we will also segue to at some point of time. But to put a structured review together actually requires a bunch of things, right? So, what is your general process of how you?
When I'm watching the film, I'm taking notes, because that helps me to remember moments in the film, that helps me to remember certain shots that I want to sort of talk about and break down and kind of see like what that means, and also helps me to remember dialogues. And then when I am back home.
So you're like noting stuff down while you are.
I am noting stuff down. Yeah, in the theater, I'm noting stuff down. The longer the list, that means the worse the film is, because that means I'm not paying that much attention to the film, and I'm paying more attention to, like, I'm thinking of what I'm gonna write. But like, if I have only 4 or 5 points at the end of the film,
list must have been
it was
long.
humongous. If I have only 4 or 5 points,
I'm guilty. So I totally like there's a long conversation on that, which. Because I know a lot of people who really liked it, and I was like, 1 second. Like,
I mean, lots of people really liked it. It made a lot of money.
I know, like, family people who will hear this, but I'm like, I know you guys liked it. You guys told me you liked Arjun Reddy.
I am not surprised.
Yes.
So I write my notes, but I never write at night time, because that's when I'm tired and my brain doesn't work. I'm a morning person.
Okay.
So then I wake up the next morning at like 5:30, 6:30, whatever time permits. And I like to write for the fresh brain in my mind with nothing else that encumbers my brain in the morning. तो मैं लिखती हूँ सुबह मेरे को लगता है मिनिमम 2-2.5 घंटे मिनिमम लगते हैं, चाहे कितनी भी खराब फिल्म हो, 2-2.5 घंटे लगते हैं मुझे उसके बारे में लिखने के लिए. और अगर बहुत ही मतलब वाहियात हुई तो मैं 40 मिनट में भी लिख सकती हूँ, खत्म कर सकती हूँ. बट अगर बहुत ही एंगेजिंग फिल्म है, फिर समथिंग दैट्स रियली काइंड ऑफ स्टर्ड माय इमोशंस एंड स्टिमुलेट माय माइंड, दैट can take up to like 6 hours, 7 hours to finish writing it, and then I go shoot it. Shooting takes about 10-15 minutes. That's it.
You know, the thing that happened, which I was always surprised by, right, is that content around movies, and it's a personal this thing for me, because that is literally what I spent a decent amount of my time at MTV and Channel V doing. I always felt that when it became digital, that it would evolve into something where you could do so many things with it. And there was this period where everything kind of went the opposite direction. Everything was pretty much, okay, we were doing this on TV. Let's take the easiest things that we could do on TV And so if you do an interview for digital, it would literally have those standard 5-6 questions, which you would never, you like, you don't have to call it out, right? Ki, how did it feel working on this? कैसा इस picture में काम करके कैसा लगा? Director के साथ कैसा लगा?
You know what my favorite
what attracted
question
you
is?
Towards this role?
What are the pranks you played on the set? Is like my I'm like, what is that? What is that question? Who plays pranks on? Okay.
But I mean, like, yeah, it's true. It depends on the movie, though. If you say we do play pranks on set and it's like black or something like that, then I find that weird.
No, but like for many journalists, it's like a standard question.
But if it's an Anis Bazmi movie, I'm like, the movie's only a prank.
The joke's on you, though.
That's true. Or Houseful. Houseful. So I have this theory about Houseful, right? So I only watch those movies and I actually fast forward it. I only watch it for Aakhri Pasta. I love Chunky Pandey. I've been a Chunky Pandey fan for years, since Aankhein. Actually, no, Aankhein. Vishwatma, one of my top like 10 movies of all time. So.
Kale kurte wali, apna naam to bata.
And Vishwatma. Like,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, so yeah.
Chunky
weird
Pandey.
Segue. Yes.
No, Chunky. Let's not talk about Chunky Pandey. Like, it's very depressing.
So we were talking about your process. We left it somewhere around your process.
That's my process. So like I write and I in the mornings, and it takes me about 10 to 15 minutes to shoot, and then I leave it to the edit team because we have a set pattern, we have a format, the way we edit the product, and then they edit it, and then it's out every Friday.
Oh wait, I remember where we were. We were at the point where I was talking about how that content didn't really evolve. It became those set of questions. Correct. But what happened because of that was that it was almost pigeonholed, right? You knew what to expect when X, Y, and Z would say something. But I think over recent times, that's kind of changed, right? And people want to actually appreciate the point of view. And sometimes you'll get appreciated. Sometimes you'll get like trolled for it. But have you seen that change from the time you started doing this to now? Like people, I mean, both sides have gotten amplified, but do you see okay, we appreciate the fact that you have a point of view increase or no?
I think, Varun, we live in echo chambers.
That's true.
We don't know what's happening around outside of the immediate group of people that we've chosen to surround ourselves with, whether it is online or offline. So, people having opinions, of course, it changes. It's cyclical. Like it also depends on the kind of mood the country is in. It depends on the kind of government that is in power. It depends on the kind of films that are making money. Opinions or the lack of it, it's an evolving thing. So there's very little that we actually do know about the impact opinions make. You mentioned a Kabir Singh now, film like that had a very negative feedback online, and it had very strong opinions from feminists and also like regular people being like, this is not right what you're showing in the film. But that did not stop the film from making close to 300 crores, which is a big amount in the Indian landscape. So opinions and how much difference they make, it can be very misleading, because you are just surrounding yourself with people who have similar thinking like you do.
Yeah, but also I think it's also a problem with being too touchy about things which don't need to be touchy about. I mean, because I come from the South, right? And I know, so I understand fan club culture a lot more strongly. I think it's over recent times it's become a lot stronger in Bollywood, but down South, I mean, there are like, if a movie is bad or not, from the time I was a kid, I would know that the fan clubs would go to the theatre, make sure the movie chalega.
Picture hai to dekhenge.
50 years chalega. 50 days, 100 days. There was once a movie, I forget what it was called, which ran for, they made it run for a year. Because it was someone's 100th movie or something like that.
Pray.
And the theatres running in, then they celebrated by tearing apart the chairs. तो theatre बंद हो गया उसके बाद.
What?
I'm not joking.
Like ताजमहल के बाद अब हाथ कटवा दिए सबके किसी सबने.
It became शादी का banquet hall after that, because he's like, I can't afford. That is crazy, right? So
this is the penultimate film that anybody will see.
And it's like fan club versus fan club and all that stuff. And then I realized that over the last 10 years, there's this whole terms start coming up. So you have and very weird ones. So like Akians and like there was this
SRKians.
And there's that what I forgot what Imran Hashmi's fan club is called. They also have Imranians
and Shahidholics and God knows what not.
Are Tiger Shroff fans Tigerians?
I do not know.
But So there's that, right? And then this suddenly becomes this conversation of no, even if it's good or bad, nobody can have a point of view, and I will live within my echo chamber, like you said. Does it make creating the kind of content which you want to create as a critic that much tougher? Or say, I'd rather just let me just not be neutral, so then I don't have this stress.
I think it would vary person to person. It would also vary on depending on the kind of film criticism is a very honest output.
Yeah.
You have to be very honest to who you are as a person for your review to resonate with people, because people can tell when you're being honest, when you can't be being honest. At least that's what I like to believe. And you also have to have a certain level of thick skin if you are a content creator on the internet, especially if you're a video content creator on the internet, and especially if you're a female video content creator on the internet. It's multifold. So if you're a woman with an opinion on a video online, the backlash, regardless of what you're saying, is going to be brutal, regardless of what you're saying. For real,
who are you to say this? What have you done?
तू कौन है? ऐसा मतलब तू जा sandwich बना. For a film like Panipat, for instance, which is Ashutosh Gowarkar's last offering, the film did not do well at the box office, and I did not dislike the film. I quite enjoyed the film, and I went on YouTube and I said that I enjoyed this film. You guys should maybe check it out. But the kind of dislike and the hatred that I got for that film, for pointing out the obvious too much glorifying of Hinduism and too much kind of just this guy is such a barbarian, he's eating meat like an animal, that kind of thing. But overall the film is good. I like the film. The kind of hate I got for that one particular movie review is more than what I've gotten in the recent past. So that's going to come regardless, one way or the other. So that is just something that comes with the territory of not just film critics, but a female content creator on the internet.
What I also find interesting is when you all do that those roundtables. I like the fact that all of you have such, I wouldn't say differing points of view, but I think they're very different nuances to how you look at movies.
It's very individual.
Anuma's a lot more balanced about it. Rahul goes, I wouldn't say niche, but I want to give a term which doesn't sound weird, but he has a certain sensibility. You figure this way to not dismiss, but also, you are a, for lack of a better term, you are a normal movie viewer who doesn't try to over analyze. I used to hate reviews which go over very deep, right? Because I'm a film student, and you would sit in something and someone would tell you, but no, when they did this is what it connected to somewhere else, and we were in film school, nahi tha utna, matlab, are you telling me that in Amar Akbar Anthony, those 3 lines of blood going in were some sort of symbolic this thing? No, I mean, he just thought it's a fun idea to do. So that's what I kind of. So when you guys do that, especially, I'm guessing you guys don't plan that.
No, it's all improvised. We're just chatting.
Just sit and chat and just do that in that way and stuff like that. But this is not just what you do. You also have. Do I call it a day job?
Yeah.
Do I call it a day job?
Yeah.
At Timesbridge And so how do you balance those two together? So a lot of people say, okay, I want to do these things. I want to be a creator.
Yes.
But I can't do it full time. How can I do it full time? But how do I balance work in this one? I've realized that struggles over the last 1 year.
Yes.
How does that work between what you do at Timesbridge and creators?
Well, thankfully, the YouTube content that I create is not on my own channel.
Yeah.
It is on somebody else's channel. Yeah. So the editing, the uploading, the SEO, and the social media of it, they take care of it. And I only help and support and amplify in whatever capacity that I can. And I bring the content.
Yeah.
With the other thing also is, that's how I kind of stay involved in the media landscape, and that's how because with Timesbridge it's really exciting because there's so many different brands in their portfolio that they're working with, and there's so many different ways that I can utilize my expertise of having lots of information about how to build a social media brand, or how to surround sound around a brand, how to make video content, and how to all kinds of different things, and especially with this a particular brand that I'm working with, which is Mubi, and you spoke to F.H. Akaral, who's the CEO and founder, a couple of weeks back. With that brand I find a synergy. Now Timesbridge also, there's so many different options that you can pick from.
You being a creator kind of helps you
It helps because then I can facilitate things for movie in India that, it makes it easier for them to kind of expand their footprint in India, to get them to meet the right people and get in the right rooms and, have the right meetings. So that is also something that I enjoy very much on the side. But having said that, at the heart of it, I'm really a creator because, coming from my radio days and, simultaneously like being a film critic, I'm really a creator. I like to create things. I like to have conversation and I like to make stories happen.
Yeah. What I find interesting about that is the fact that most people look at them as two separate buckets, but the fact that you being a creator actually, as long as both have some sort of synergy, I think it really makes both better. Because it kind of helps amplify both sides of things. Yeah. But I think the people who have problems are, if you are, let's say, a finance person and then you're doing this, then I don't see too much connect except for maybe if you have to shoot stuff and budgets ka karna hai. But I think that's because a lot of the people who kind of write in are saying, okay, I want to start. Should I start my own YouTube channel? I don't know what I create, will it be good or not? Where do I kind of start off, even like figuring out? So analyzing the content and figuring that out. If someone has that problem, how was your starting off? If I have to put it with the YouTube piece.
See, with me, it's always been like मैं try करेगी. मैं सब try करेगी. So whatever comes my way, I don't say no to it unless it's something that I really don't want to do. But I love a challenge. It's the most cliched thing to say on a podcast. I love a challenge, but I really do love a challenge. So even with Times Bridge or with Film Companion or even with the radio, I was 19 when I started radio. I had my own radio show in New Delhi, which was like, unprecedented, and everybody was like, what the frick?
You can say fuck on this.
Okay, what the fuck? I was in college and I had my own radio show. So it's always like, I'll try whatever it is that comes my way. There has never been for me, and much to my parents' disappointment, there's never been a career path that I've followed. I have just done whatever's come my way of all the things that I've felt like that I can fit myself. I want to create. And I want to create and I want to find synergies between, because I like to feel I'm a very dynamic personality in myself. And I just like to kind of touch upon whatever it is that I can find within myself to do, whether it is, I do media marketing, and I create film reviews and, I did radio for 10 years. So, जो भी मेरे को मन करता है करने के लिए, I just try to go so into it and I do that. It's easy.
I think it's also a great time to be a creator, right? You're not necessarily
boss. Yes,
you don't have to put yourself in a box, because you can like literally say, like, you start you were doing audio, you could easily segue to or move towards video. The written word is not too far away. So and the tools are so much simpler to kind of get, which is what
everything is within your reach now. You just now it's on you now. If
and
you're
what's
not
the
trying,
worst?
it's
You'll put
on
something up and no one will watch it. What's there?
Make
you're
something
happy,
else.
You made it, so you'll be satisfied.
कुछ और बना लो. Somebody will watch something else.
Yeah.
So it's just about, if you're not really trying to kind of break out of the image that everybody kind of expects you to be put into, if you're not trying to break out of that, then that's on you. Yeah. And that's okay too. Just you do whatever you want.
So I actually want to dig into your process a little more, right? But I do know we need to go in for a break. So we're just going to do that and be right back with Advertising Instead.
Cool.
We would like to thank HDFC Life Insurance for supporting this show. HDFC Life Insurance has created an online video series called Behind the Journey with some of the most interesting people from the creative and entertainment industry. It explores the stories that are behind the glitz and the glamour of the spotlight and screaming fans. Let's listen to a snippet from the episode featuring singer Jaslyn Royal.
Music थोड़ी expensive hobby होती है, and for middle class parents to understand that and support you can be a little difficult. So I went to my music teacher and he said, like, why don't you teach my batch? And I started taking his batches. So the goal was like to earn around 40,000 क्योंकि मुझे एक keyboard लेना था अपने लिए. I saved money every penny I made and I got that keyboard.
Saving money is a key component to take care of your dreams and your finances. You can watch all episodes of Behind the Journey on HDFC Life Insurance YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/HDFCLife. Take control of your personal goals with HDFC Life Insurance's financial solutions. Plan now with HDFC Life Insurance.
Terms and conditions apply. HDFC Life Insurance Company Limited, IRDAI, registration number 101.
Welcome back to Advertising is Dead. We're still with Sucharita. Why do you not like Chunky Pandey?
Listen, it's nothing personal. It's just like some of the films that I've seen him in the recent past have been so bad. It's just distressing.
So I have this. So if you ask me and you ask me to name my top 3, 4. So a lot of people know the fact that I am full Raita fan, right? So I am like, favorite movie of all time is Tridev.
Kiss Raita?
Raita songs? Like, you know,
Raita songs.
You know those songs you play post midnight, which you will dance.
Kajrare.
Yes, all those.
Love
I'm a
it.
huge. So like I've had
Very
like
good.
these kind of playlists since I can remember. I grew up on Mithun movies, and so Bappida's music was what like for me, Dance as a kid was one of the most revolutionary movies when I was growing up, because I was like, this is how you can dance.
Wow.
Like,
When I was growing up, Kaho Na Pyare was my favorite film. So what does that say
same.
about myself?
No, but Kaho Na Pyare also makes me old. Because
Pyar
you said
ki
growing up.
kashti mein,
That step we all did.
leheron ki masti
Yeah.
mein.
They just had about some 10-year or 20-year anniversary, something like that, no?
What the is Amisha Patel up to these days, I wonder?
So I have this weird thing. So I saw Amisha Patel in one of those luxury stores sometime back.
Inaugurating or shopping?
No, she was wearing everything which is that store's brand only, but she was standing inside. So I was like,
Good for
what is
her,
left
yeah.
to buy?
She's living her best life, yeah.
Yes,
She
that's
does what she wants, and I fucking respect that. Good for her.
So that was a very weird period also. People say the 90s was the worst period. I would say no. The 2000s were a very weird period in cinema, right? Because you didn't know. So like my production head at Glitch worked on the production for Main Prem Ki Diwani Ho, right?
Bunny.
And
Oh
I
my
sat
god, I
with him
love.
and I'm like, please explain to me, how did you guys not like? He's like, मैं production कर रहा था, मुझे क्या फर्क पड़ता है?
Drugs पे बनी है वो पूरी film.
With that, so I'm saying that those were the most experimentative times, because there was stuff made during that period,
Yeah.
which are dream like. So which is why I used to really enjoy the time when Biswa and Kanan were doing their
Yeah.
they picked movies which I was like, yes,
Yeah.
like
Puri
Premagan and like,
recreational drugs पे वो
we don't
फिल्में
have
बनी
enough
है.
of those anymore.
Those kind of films.
Do you feel
Is that
the lack
such a bad thing?
Do you feel the lack
No.
of? Wouldn't it be so much fun to critique a Premagan versus critiquing, let's say,
Bro, we are still critiquing Premagan. Have you seen Dabang 3?
No, actually.
It is that bad. It is Premagan level.
No, but that's also because
Have you seen Marjava?
So this is my thing, right? I feel
Have you seen anything Milad Zaveri has been making these last few years?
I've seen some of the older stuff, which is why I don't choose
It's
to
very
see
bad.
that.
It's very bad. It's not worth watching.
No, my thing is that so this is the thing, right? Is that so I still feel these movies are still lazier.
No.
In my point of view, I think those times they were making it with full like earnestness. They thought it was path-breaking.
Suraj Barjatya made, no? Main Prem Ki Diwani
Yeah.
Ho. Yeah. He made everything with a lot of earnestness.
Yeah. But see, now these ones which you spoke of feel lazy. They're like, you know, that's my big worry is that Masi Hindi cinema is going through this sleepwalking phase, right? Where you know, it's like, oh, let's not even try. There's other category which is growing and growing. There is obviously the Ayushmann Khurrana genre of cinema, which is turning out one after the other.
Shubh Mangal Zyada Savdhan being the next one.
And then there are I would say a lot of the newer actors are trying to do stuff. But then there's one category that is left, which is, I don't think it's stuck in the past. Like, I think Rohit Shetty is the only one who's kind of winging it over there and still doing some things there. But
What?
because I think he's still, like, there's some formula that's still working there.
Masala, but made with effort.
No, see, the fact that he owns it, right? He says, what is that? Golmaal 4 had this tagline, which was, no logic, only magic. See, he's owning it. He's
correct.
like, I know there is no logic to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But that's my point. Like, you having to critique lazy, wouldn't you rather critique bad?
No, dude. You know, people watch my reviews and they call them roasts, which I don't like because they're not roasts.
You're calling a spade a spade.
Yeah, exactly, because everything I'm saying is coming from a place of like love for cinema. I'm very passionate about films. I love watching films, and I if I'm giving 2.5 to 3 hours of my life, I'm investing in you, and I'm letting you to take me to a place, a universe that you've created. Take me there, make me believe it. Like you know, I'm ready to
like
drown
Bahubali?
in it. I liked Bahubali. Yes, I thought it was really fun. I bought into the
It had
universe
some
entirely.
issues, but
But I bought into it and I enjoyed myself thoroughly, you know. So that's why when I'm talking about a bad film, it takes me a lot of effort to write about a film that I don't want to write about. I've watched it and now I want to forget entirely about it because मेरे को कोई शौक नहीं है किसी का मजाक उड़ाने का.
मैं इसका रिव्यू नहीं करूंगी.
नहीं करना तो सभी का है because that's what I do. That's literally the only reason I'm watching the films that I kind of don't want to watch. But having said that, sometimes you walk into a film feeling like ये कैसी picture होने वाली है, but it turns out to be a really good film sometimes. So you walk in with an open mind. Laila Majnu, I've spoken about this. Oh my God, like innumerable number of times.
The one
yeah, see, you've not even seen it. Yes, Imtiaz Ali wrote it. And his brother made that film. And
I've heard a lot of people talk about it, actually.
Danish Ali. And I think his name is Danish Ali. I'm pretty sure it is. It is a phenomenal retelling of the tale as old as time. And it's just fantastic. And you walk into a film that is titled Laila Majnu with two new faces that you don't know anything about because the marketing and everything has not been very good. And then you walk out of the film feeling like, jeez, what did I just watch? This was incredible. So that happens, but that happens very rarely. Yeah. But more often than not, you're kind of certain about what you're going to watch. So I don't actually like talking about bad cinema. I don't enjoy it when people say, I'm actually waiting for Sucharita's roast. That's not what I like. Have you
walked out of a movie?
Never.
In recent past?
Once. Not recent past, but once. Long back. Anjana Anjani. Ranbir Kapoor and Priyanka Chopra. No way.
Could not do it.
Wow.
I don't know why. I just could not. Like, I sat in that movie. I'm like, I don't know.
Anil Kapoor.
Yeah, it was.
Juhi Chawla?
Was it I think Rishikesh Mukherjee. No.
What?
I don't know who made it. Someone made it.
I don't remember.
It was trying to be a Rishikesh Mukherjee film. I remember that. It was supposed to be an ode about it. I was like, I cannot. Like, I don't know why I got up, but I just literally just got up and said, I'm not doing this.
Anjana Anjani, I walked out of when those two people meet and they want to like kill themselves and then they have a bucket list.
It's a randomly depressing movie.
And I was just like, I can't deal with this film. The songs are nice, but I didn't like the film.
So, and that's the thing, right? Because, like you said, sometimes movies surprise you. And sometimes you go in expecting, because, so that in my mind, there are different kinds of movie viewers, right? Which is why I feel that what you do also becomes interesting is that, I have a great example, which is my grandmother. And I've called this one out many times. My grandmother feels that whenever she goes to a movie, she actually, one of the questions she has, how many locations is this movie shot in?
So cute, yeah.
For her, it's a holiday.
So sweet.
So subliminally, I bought her a VR headset recently for her birthday. She's 87 and she's enjoying it right now.
And she doesn't get like motion sickness?
Loves it and not taking it off only.
So cute.
My mother's like, what have you done?
Love it.
But so she's like, how many locations? She's like, I have seen all these places now because I'm going to the movie to see that. I'm like, that's why she watches it. Someone's going and saying, I don't want to like, which is why for me, mass cinema was always such an interesting genre, and I always loved one of my favorite genres because I'm like, you're going in there with like, I don't want to think. I want to like, I just want to like for me, a Jumanji is mass cinema.
Absolutely.
Right? You're going in there like, I don't want to like think, how can this happen? Is there something
deeper? You want
deeper?
to
No, but
forget
it's so
about the
fun.
world a little bit, and you want to be transported to a place where your worries don't exist, and you want to have fun. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just the definition of mass cinema has changed now.
It cannot be. So for me, a war was a good mass.
For sure.
Like I saw it I've seen it 3 times.
Dude, for instance, even the Zoya Factor was such a light and like fun film. Yeah, if you see it, it's just fun. It's the Indian film, Indian cricket industry, and like how they do advertisements, and they're not really good at selling Nerolac paints, but they're selling Nerolac paints, and they have to go back.
I should really watch this.
Yeah, it's a really, really fun film. It's just a silly little film. But like mass has turned into Marjava and like these kind of films, which is kind of worrying.
But sometimes they're unintentionally great. So for me, the best unintentional comedy of the recent past was Race 3, right? I have not laughed.
Dear Lord.
I've not laughed so much in a movie in a long time, right?
But you don't have to go back home and spend 2 hours writing about that film.
So that's what I think. So does that take away the process of actually enjoying a bad movie?
I never enjoyed bad movies, Varun. Never. No. I like cinema way too much to enjoy bad films. I don't.
Because Race 3, I was like, oh my God, it is
Anil
amazing.
Kapoor was having so much fun in that film, though. That was fun to watch.
He's always having fun.
Yeah.
I love him. He's always having so much. Like I think he truly lives it in that sense.
I just spent some time with him last weekend, and he's like, tension lene ka nahi, dene ka. मैं टेंशन कभी नहीं लेता. And I was like, ऐसे होना चाहिए यार.
Yeah, it's just
Life.
He walks also like that. He walks with that strut, and it's like one of
He
those
loves
things.
it.
Yeah.
And everyone loves him.
So for me, he's a great example, right? He can transcend every kind of genre. He can, in some ways, even kind of just be himself, and it just works, right? He never sleepwalks. My issue is sleepwalking. I think
He's always trying. He's always making an effort. Yeah.
So, which is why going back, I don't know, we want random segues into different points, but coming back to the process is that if today I want to create content around movies, it's not necessary that I enjoy everything, but it also then means that you have to consume everything. But does that take away from how you look at it objectively in some ways?
How I look at cinema objectively, films objectively?
Like how do you feel the audience lens going away from time to time? Because that would be the worry, right?
See, you cannot view cinema as separate from the socio-political environment of the country that it is coming from. Cinema, art reflects life, right? So cinema also, it is the most popular medium of mass communication that we have. So it does imitate life, and you cannot, at least I cannot separate the two. I try to, it's just a natural thing that I have when I'm writing and I'm analyzing cinema. It's just I do not separate the two, but because I shouldn't separate the two. And any time that I'm talking about any bit of cinema, it also comes with maybe if it is a period cinema and it is set in a certain time, and if it what it means if you're showing that here right now. So when I'm watching films, I'm still enjoying films. It doesn't mean that I'm only thinking about what I'm going to write and what I'm going to say and how people are going to
take away from it, right?
It's still me very much. What I am feeling about the film, but it is also my personal politics are involved in it. My personal opinions are involved in it.
Being a critic also means that it's a personal opinion, which means that your personal opinion only comes from what you believe in and what you agree with. And you pick
which film critic you decide to follow.
Yeah,
there's many of us.
Yeah.
If you think that this is not an opinion that you agree with, you go pick somebody else. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah,
it's totally fine. I'm not saying that what I'm saying is
and
the gospel
you don't
truth.
care about. So the good part also is it's not like you're putting the quality of a movie in front basis the box office of the movie, because that is
the box office.
Because there are also those reviews. I will not name who, but there are those reviews which are about box office and not necessarily about.
The box office really doesn't matter to me, because when I'm writing the review, you don't know what the box office is going to be, right? You can make an educated guess. You can assess that this kind of film will do well and this kind of film probably will not do well. But more often than not, I am the wrong about what kind of film is going to make money and what kind of film is not going to make money. Especially in the recent past couple of months, I've just been absolute. Like, I did not think that this particular film will go ahead and make this much money, and this particular film will not make any money at all. For instance, Mard Ko Dard Nahi Hota, I thought it was such a phenomenal movie, and I really thought that it was going to go out and be a hit. But on the box office, it did not do very well at all. So I am a very bad judge of that. At least that metric, I have no idea.
But I think the good part now in the world we live in is I don't think that matters as much anymore. In the sense that, because that's the good part about streaming, I kind of feel, is that if you calculate, and this is perspective, a movie that isn't as large in creating in terms of actual expense, in many ways you can actually get back your returns as a producer as long as you get a, let's say, an OTT deal, right?
Sure.
So then you're not worried as much about, how many days will you run in a theater? What is my distribution deal going to be? You could just actually even just go straight to an OTT. Unlike not a drive scenario, but unlike a drive scenario.
Oh dear Lord, I haven't seen that film. Have you seen it?
Tried, could not. Tried. The good part of streaming is it's not technically walking out of a movie, you just haven't finished it.
You just be like, all right, exit.
I haven't finished it, is how I like to put it.
I haven't watched that film.
So I think that's in some ways liberating as well, right? It's like, I don't know if a Mard Ko Dard Nahi Hota, I mean, as long as whatever the deal was to put it up on Netflix, etc., would have covered, because it was an expensive movie.
Sure.
but technically a race 3 requires to run in theaters, requires to be everywhere else and all that stuff. And
I don't honestly, Varun, I'm telling you, I don't understand the economics of it. I don't entirely claim to know which films should have a theatrical release and which films should not have a theatrical release. Obviously, when you're looking at the multiple Oscar-nominated film Sam Mendes' 1917, now that
hasn't
is a
had
film.
a great opening right now. In that.
Yeah, not in India. I don't know,
No,
but
in the States as well.
But no, I think in the States it's doing a decent business because even
it's
before.
going on because of Bad Boys has come out.
But even before a wide release, it had a limited release and it won the Golden Globe for Best Picture Drama and Best Director, Sam Mendes. Now that is the film that you have to experience on the big screen because it is made for the big screen. So for that, I would argue that no, do not wait for it to hit your Netflix and your Amazon Primes. But apart from that, I'm one of those people who doesn't really care that much about the big screen experience versus the home screen experience because I love being in the theater, like sitting in my seat and having the lights go out and getting comfortable and like, being like, abhi main 2-2.5 घंटे यहाँ से हिलूंगी नहीं, interval में भी नहीं जाऊंगी मैं बाहर. That is the best feeling in the world for me, and like no man, woman or child has ever been able to replicate that in my life. I love that feeling. But having said that, I am not somebody who is going to go out of my way to stand in queues to watch Irishman at the theater when I know that 2 weeks later it's going to be in my home. I watched it on Netflix and I had this, I loved it just the same. So I'm not like a stickler for like this way or the other. And with the advent of so many OTT platforms and streaming platforms, I think it's a great thing.
If I was someone who wants to start creating to call it critical content or content as a critic online today, what are the things that you need to keep in mind?
To be a film critic?
Yeah. In this era of everybody's a critic, but to be a good one.
Yes.
What are the things I need to keep in mind?
You have to be more involved in the world than just beyond cinema. You should be aware of what's going on. You should have other interests. That's what makes you a whole-rounded personality. You can have interests. You can be a bartender. You could have interests in science or astrophysics. You could be interested in the human body or whatever. But different kind of interests enable you to view whatever content it is you're viewing through different lenses, and that kind of broadens up your view of how you're taking in the story, your worldview. Because you can learn continuously till the day you die. So try and learn about the world and the universe as much as you can is what I would say. That enables you to have a more holistic and whole-rounded approach towards writing about any piece of art, whether it is cinema or any other kind of art that you're writing about. And always be open to new ideas and always be open to new concepts in not just storytelling, but like in the world. And don't be afraid of voicing your opinion, because always remember who it is that you're writing or creating your film review for. Are you writing and creating it for the famous and popular people who've made the film who are going to watch it, that are watching your review? Or you're writing and creating it for the many, many people who put their faith in you and their trust in you before they spend their money on that particular film. So if you keep these couple of things in mind, that could really help you move forward. And it's a continuously evolving process. I was not the same film critic I was 4 years ago. I'm a different film critic now, and I'm constantly evolving and moving forward.
Do you also because you're a creator, which in a sense also puts in the category of an influencer, have you seen interactions with brands in a certain way over time, in terms of, has there been?
I don't do a whole lot of brand work. I don't know.
Why?
I don't think brands think I'm very sexy for their brands.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't do a whole lot of brand work. I do I do a lot of panels. People invite me to like a lot of like cinema panels and do discussions with people. So I do a whole lot of that. I don't feel.
But you see the way they perceive a voice, because that's a point of view I've had for a while, is that perceiving a voice as a brand and kind of using that, if you align with that voice, is actually a very strong way to do it. Have you seen that at all with the panels, etc.?
I think social media advertising also is so new in the world, not just in India, in the world. We're still kind of learning and evolving and trying to figure which kind of influencer would work with what kind of thing. And till recently it has been like kiske kitne zyada follower hain usko utna. Then they realized that followers to fake hote hain. Now it is about kiska kitna zyada engagement hai. It is about that. So I think, you know, as it keeps evolving, as it keeps moving forward, it's tricky being a film critic, because you always have to be kind of aware of where your money is coming from. Like, does anybody have any vested interests in the film? And then, but like, for
you
me,
never know.
You never know. But like, for me, that's not really been an area of concern, honestly speaking.
So towards the end of every episode, right, we do this piece called The Humans of Advertising, which is now expanded into, it's my version of a rapid fire.
It's not derivative at all.
My version of a rapid fire.
Hit me.
What can you whip up in an instant?
Definitely not Maggie noodles. I can whip up a conversation.
Perfect. Is there something that you are a strong consumer of, or is there something that someone's told you that, you know, why are you consuming so much of this? This is useless information, but you truly believe in consuming it. What is that?
TikTok.
Really?
It's
TikTok
so
videos?
weird.
I know.
It is so weird. I do not understand it, but I spend like...
So scared. I've tried to like make a video and I'm like, I'm not trying.
30, 40 minutes I've been scrolling and I don't know what I'm watching but TikTok. I bow down to the power of TikTok.
What I enjoy is sometimes scrolling through and you suddenly see someone in a really rural area and they're creating some like hardcore stuff.
Dancing like freaking Michael Jackson.
पीछे गाय जा रहा है.
हाँ.
घास
और
से.
नाच रहे ऐसा. I'm like,
boss,
I
this is
bow down to the power of TikTok.
So I live in Andheri, right? So Lokhandwala area, you go around the back road. You go on the evenings or in this thing. There are always groups of really young kids who are just creating TikTok videos, and I'm like, this is a constant factory going on.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Even I do that.
It's awesome.
I love the fact that there's that For You one apart from the following one. So I like the For, because I don't know who to follow, right?
Following, I'm following Film Companion and Washington Post and like 2 friends.
But when you go to For You, you see something. It's a whole different world.
Oh, incredible shit, man. You could scroll crazy. For hours.
Yeah, it's
endless.
Listen to a lot of podcasts, you told me.
I do.
Any recommendations people need to listen to?
Yes. New York Times, The Daily. That's a podcast.
I love The Daily.
Yeah, it's amazing. It keeps you updated with what's happening in the world, and it's a really serious look at politics and other things that are going on in the world. Sometimes they do special episodes as well, like they did a couple of episodes on Harvey Weinstein. So that is definitely an absolute favorite. And there's another one called Revealed, which is also an Apple podcast. It's a free podcast to listen to, and they do a lot of investigative reports. They did one episode recently on the Pentagon Papers. These are all American podcasts that I'm talking about right now. And I've recently discovered the Indian Express podcast called 3 Things, which is really, really good. Yeah. Thank you. Shout out to Kia Madhwani from Twitter for turning me on to these podcasts.
Have you... so there is this podcast I started recommending to people, right? It's called The Rewatchables.
Okay.
It's about movies that if you're on an OTT or on watching television, if it comes on, you'll rewatch it again.
No.
So every episode they discuss one movie like that.
That's awesome.
So there's like they'll do a Die Hard one day, then they'll do The Holiday another day.
I love that movie so much.
They did Dunkirk, where Tarantino sat on that podcast and talked about.
No way.
Yeah, so it's a great one to listen to, especially for
rewatchable.
Rewatchables, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Also, Mark Maron does this
thing
where he gets people, but he's a little weird.
Up.
But yeah, he has a weird voice in the whole cinema set. But yeah,
I used to really listen to Stuff You Should Know, which is like one of the most famous podcasts in the world. Yeah. But it got very boring for me because those two guys really just take off and like start talking about some random things and then to come back to the point. So I don't listen to that.
And
anymore.
Blockbuster.
Okay.
This is Spielberg and
got it.
They're doing season 2. I'm waiting for that. Books. Any recent book recommendations?
The one that I am in the middle of reading right now is Catch and Kill by Ronan Farrow.
Yeah.
And he's talking about his investigation on Harvey Weinstein. Yeah. It's a phenomenal book.
I think he's just launched a podcast.
Yes, he's also. I think it's called Catch and Kill. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet. But that's the book that I'm reading right now. It's quite phenomenal. Before that, I finished reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, which is kind of underwhelming, to be honest.
Those are books which you buy because the title is interesting. Then you read
it. Everybody's talking about it.
And everybody's taking a photo with the cover.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was underwhelming.
Go through it. I just got this Kindle sample. I ran through it. I'm like, He did one more also after that. Similar some kind of name. It sounds like I don't remember what it was.
Yeah. Everything is and you're
something like that.
You're dying or something.
Again, one
like
of those things.
Yeah.
what movies are you looking forward to this year?
The Oscar films are releasing now, little by little.
Yeah.
So 1917 I just watched. I'm dying to watch Parasite.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm dying to watch because it's got so many nominations and I'm really trying to see if it's worth the hype. So I would say that, yeah.
And the perennial final question of this is, why will advertising not die?
Advertising will not die because consumerism is not going to die. As long as we are people and as long as there's deep discounts, there's going to be widespread advertising around the deep discounts and other things as well. And it just, in a manner of speaking, it makes your life easier also. But I don't think advertising is really going to die. It's just going to keep evolving, which is really exciting to watch.
Thank you so much for doing this. This was fun.
Yeah.
We went into random Vishwatma Tridev mode in between, but I think we need to have a chat about Chunky Pandey post this podcast. And
I don't think we do. I think we're okay. Okay.
So that's it for this episode of Advertising is Dead.
This is the amazing story of something awesome. Once, Chuck decided to start a podcast. And so he did. The end. Okay, that was a crappy story. But I've got some really cool stories over at my new show, The Origin of Things. On this podcast, I look at the stories of how brands came into being and sometimes evolved out of quite unexpected circumstances. And to make it really fun, I reveal the name of the brand and sometimes a category only at the very end. The show is 5 to 7 minutes per episode and perfect for trivia junkies and brand nerds, especially those with short attention spans. New episodes out every Wednesday on IVM Podcasts app or website or any podcast app or site that you happen to prefer. End of story, they lived happily ever after.